Welcome, everybody. My name is Marshall. I'm the facilitator of the Experience More Tour, and tonight we are here talking with LifeStraw, and we have with us Mr. Aaron Cups joining us from, well, I don't know, you have to tell us, Aaron, where you're joining us from today. It looks like
I'm
you're
joining you from my basement full of
nice.
Legos and children's toys in beautiful Baltimore, Maryland. LifeStraw is based here on the East Coast, so it's a little bit late at night for me. But I'm super stoked to be here because the last session was great. I was really happy to share our story and what we do.
Yeah, and it was a great conversation. I'm excited to kind of continue this, Aaron.
Hmm.
You're relatively new at LifeStraw, but you are not new in the industry. In fact, some folks on this call may even know you from your job you had before working at LifeStraw.
Yeah.
What did you do before, and how did you come into work at LifeStraw?
Yeah, so I worked for REI actually for 16 years. So those of you who are calling in today or joining us from REI, thank you very much. Lots of great memories and a great time building a part of my career there at REI. I worked in a couple of locations, so I don't know if you're in any of these spots out there, but I was down in the Dirty 30. I was at Albuquerque for a little while, then out in Henderson, Nevada, and Las Vegas, and then finally was over here in Baltimore for a while. So I've been did the tour for many years. I came to REI. I'm sorry, I came to LifeStraw because you know, I loved working at REI because of the strong mission base. I spent a lot of time working with my teams on the community outreach part, the stewardship parts of what we did. And when I got to know the LifeStraw team here in Baltimore and a job became available and they invited me over to interview for it, it was a really strong fit. It was a great continuation of
Mm.
the stewardship part of my career, along with the fun of being able to help develop products, not just always sell them. But love outfitting, love connecting people with gear, and love talking shop. So I'm excited today to do a little bit of that with you guys.
Well, now you have this great job as the national account manager, meaning you're still out there seeing a lot of the REIs and all the
Oh yeah.
other retail accounts in North America, which is pretty cool, right? You get to go and visit everybody and
Yep.
talk a little bit about LifeStraw. Now you talked about stewardship, right? And this is a brand that has been doing stewardship programs, or really it's in its ethos from the very, very
Yeah.
beginning. And tell us a little bit about the history of LifeStraw, right? Maybe we've heard about it, maybe we read about it, but it goes way back to the mid 90s.
Yeah, so you can see there, 1994, guinea worm is a parasite that lives in the water, and when you ingest it, it gets under your skin and it can burrow out. It is a long worm that has to be taken out, and if you've ever seen the videos of somebody like with a stick slowly pulling out a worm out of a sore on somebody's leg, that's guinea worm. It's incredibly painful. It can be debilitating for people. I had my numbers a little wrong last time, Marshall, but they're still big. In 1994, I'm sorry, back in the 80s, it was 3.5 million cases in sub-Saharan Africa. Through the work with the Carter Center and the development of, if you guys can see this, this is the original life straw. It's
Wow.
the one the folks in the picture there are using. It blocks the larva when you drink it. Just a tube with a mesh filter on the bottom. The introduction of this, along with some larger catchment filters that we make, has helped reduce that number from 3.5 million down to about a dozen cases last year.
That is as good as it's going to get. That is remarkable, right? And to be able to be part of that, working with the Carter Foundation, and just to have that as your history, right? Okay, we
Where
can
we
do
started.
this, right? And then it progressed, right? You started getting other ideas of how you could help with global health.
Yeah, absolutely. So out of this original straw came new filter technology that showed up in the original, the OG straw, as we call it. You'll still find these out on the market. We still sell them. They're great, super reliable. Just a shout out to my team that's down in North Carolina right now. We're actually deploying hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of these in North Carolina right now, along with other filters. But that
Huh.
the public health side of where we started is where this came about. And before it was ever a product that you could buy in a store, it was part of a public health campaign. And then eventually we started selling it to help fund the public health campaigns. And out of that work grew what we do today. So when you see our newest things like our travel bottles, this technology that's in here started with those original ideas.
Right. And this idea of funding the give back, the other programs that you do, that is still here today, right? Any of the outdoor products that are purchased, they're going to go to help fund some of the other programs that you're doing in Africa. Tell us a
Yep.
little bit about that program because it's actually really, I think it's a cool thing from the perspective of somebody working in retail. Hey,
Yeah.
by the way, your purchase of this is actually going to go do this.
Yeah, it's really the heart of what we do. The company was born from that work being done in sub-Saharan Africa, in particular the western part of Kenya. So right now, anybody who buys a LifeStraw product, that helps fund safe water for a year for a school child in need. That work is implemented in Western Kenya for the most part, but we also run programs in Ghana. We've started programs in Venezuela and Haiti. We just had some folks down in Jamaica where they have a need down there. But every time you buy a product, it helps fund safe water for 1 year for a kid. Since the inception of this program about a decade ago, we're just about at 10 million kids that are going to be impacted positively by this work. And I was actually on a call today with the buyer for REI, and I was super stoked that next week, actually with this week's sales, we'll surpass 54,000 children from just REI sales that are going to be impacted and get safe water next year. So every year we have a team in Kenya, and every year they identify schools. We install large scale purifiers. You can see it on the right-hand side of that screen there, that blue sort of tub looking thing. That's about a 50-liter purifier that we install at the schools. One purifier for every 100 kids at the school, and that's enough water for them for the year, for the day. So if there's 800 kids, we install 8 of these purifiers. On top of that, on the left-hand side, you can see that guy over there. His name's Dan Olabero. He leads our field team in Western Kenya. Him and his team go back to every school every month for 5 years to make sure that these filters are in great shape. They do the repairs. They do ongoing training. In this picture, that's me and my colleague from Switzerland. We're having a drinking contest. It's kind of a fun opportunity to train all the kids and all the teachers about how to use it. And we try to do it in a fun way. But what's really important about this is as goofy as it can get sometimes with this. It's important for us to show that we can trust this water that comes
Yeah.
out of it. So we're pulling the water from wells, from rivers, from boreholes. Some of it's pretty rough, but we have to show that it's safe to drink out of these. And so through the process of doing training, some of it through singing, some of it through talking, and some of it through games with the kids, we try to instill a sense of trust in the filters. And that same trust is built into what we sell, right? So like
Yeah.
if what we're doing there in Kenya, it's literally a matter of health, and we bring that same thing to, everyday products that we sell at your stores.
Really makes me trust in the brand, right? If you are in there doing that at scale,
Yeah.
and able to deliver those products and make those products work for them, I think you can make products work for us when we're going into the mountains, right?
Yeah.
And it's really cool to kind of see that connection. And this is just a brand that you can completely trust. You've been doing this for 30 years, and you bring this technology now to us, so that we can use it. So tell us a little bit about the technology at its most basic. I don't need to go into too much tech unless folks on this call want to, but really, how does it work?
Sure. So actually, we use a membrane, in this case, a hollow fiber membrane with thousands of little pores on it. So you can imagine like a long extruded straw with just thousands of little pores. These are microscopic pores. And things like our original filters, the OG straws, the bottles, the squeeze products, and gravity filters we use. These are the microfiltration that you see in the middle, and they have a 0.2 micron pore size. This is small enough to block 99.99999% of bacteria, along with other parasites and common pathogens in the water. So for your backcountry use, for your travel use, for most cases, microfiltration works really, really well, and it's rigorously tested in a water lab that we own. And those results are then verified by third-party independent labs.
Yeah, and one of the things I've kind of learned by talking to you is that like those actual number of nines really matter, and you actually add one more nine, right, to be give us a slightly more higher level of confidence. You can't go to 100; it's not possible, just the way testing works. But that amount of nines is really quite impressive in the microfiltration. Now,
Yeah,
there are times when you want ultrafiltration, right? This is a little different when you're worried about viruses and such.
that's
But
correct.
really, we're not seeing that in the outdoors, right? That's just not a thing that we're necessarily running into.
Not too much. I mean, viral outbreaks can happen for sure, especially in certain situations, like if there's flooding
Yeah.
or if there's an outbreak. There was an outbreak of norovirus in the Sierras earlier this year, and in those cases, you can treat the water either through an ultrafiltration, which is 10 times more fine in pore size than our regular, and that will block down the viruses. And we do have some products like the large format ones that we deploy in for like emergency response. We're rolling those out actually right now also in North Carolina. And then we have some of you guys will have in your stores our gravity purifier. And we have a couple different systems of gravity purifiers that do this. And just so you know, for your customers, if they're really worried about viruses are very hard to filter, but you can kill them with chlorine. So if you had a customer who was worried, like say they were hiking through the Sierras and they were worried about norovirus, if they took one of ours and they filled it and they dropped a chlorine tablet, they could start drinking in about 30 seconds and they would be okay and it would not hurt our filter. Chlorine tablets can take up to 4 hours to fully clean water, and they're not good for long-term use. But if somebody had to, they could use it in conjunction with one of our filters.
Yeah, that's that cool knowledge, right? That you can bring on some of that.
Yeah,
The other thing I want to stress here, and I think this is a customer friendly thing, right? The filtration systems, unlike chemical treatment systems, right? They will always work.
that's
They
correct.
stop working when you stop getting water, right? That's the way. So it's not a failure. They just stop giving you water. But
Yeah.
if you get water, it's safe.
I just on that topic, you're exactly right. The reason we and some other makers use membrane microfiltration as our medium is that it works. As long as water can get through, it's safe, they're easy to care for. There are some other technologies on the market that have more variability in their effectiveness based on dwell time with the water or the amount of pressure or the speed that it filters. Membrane filtration is actually highly effective, and so we have found it to be the most trustworthy and most reliable technology of all the filters that we have tested over the years.
And then just briefly, it's going to hit on this third filter that this third sort of system that we see here, right? This is not for viruses. You see no nines there, right?
Right.
This is a little different. What does a activated carbon add? So this is a different way of doing things.
Yeah, so some of our products, like our travel bottles, will have a small carbon filter built into them. They're removable and replaceable. These help remove chemicals, heavy metals, pesticides, those kind of things in the water. Um, just so you know, carbon filtration comes in a lot of compositions for what you want. Just like I'm sure that you guys talk a lot about at Gore, just the different Gore-Tex fabrics have different applications for
Right?
different
We
things.
call it we call it fit for use, right? They're fit
Fit
for
for you.
certain particular uses. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same thing with activated carbon. For outdoor use, it's usually there for making sure the water tastes pretty good for travel to get rid of chlorine. But they will have the effect of reducing chemicals in the water. In particular, small format is good for organic chemicals that are usually in the form of like petroleum-based pesticides and herbicides in the water.
Hmm.
Larger format ones that we use on our home products will actually reduce everything all the way up to PFAS.
That's interesting, right? And so that's a kind of an add-in that you have, or it's a slightly different set of filtration needs than what we would maybe have out in the field when we're backpacking and
Yeah.
hiking.
Yeah.
So, there's this kind of classic product, right? I've been out hiking around where I live, and when I'm towards the end of the Pacific Crest Trail, and so all the through hikers are up here this time of year, and I just see these stuck onto a smart water bottle sticking out of the back of their packs on almost every single person. This is this little solo personal water filter. It's a very cool small piece, very versatile, and it seems like it's really taken the market by storm.
Yeah.
Um, how is this? How does one use this and use this in the field properly?
Yeah, so the Solo was it came out last year. It's a smaller format from the straw filter, similar technology, smaller surface area. It's gonna have a little bit shorter lifespan, but it's great for everyday hiking, through hikes. It allows you to use a variety of bottles. On the lower left-hand corner of that slide, that's mine. That's my filter, and that water is straight out of the canyons in Hanksville, Utah. We were doing some canyoneering and picked up some pretty rough water. We just screw it, dip the bottle in, fill it up with what water's there. Ideally, it's not that muddy. You don't,
Yeah, right. It's
you're
gonna
not
clog
going to
up.
filter that, but
Yeah.
honestly, that's what was at the bottom of the canyon that day. You put the screw the filter onto the top and just turn it over and drink right out of it, or squeeze it into another vessel for sharing, filling up other bottles. If your customers have a different brand already of a reusable bottle from like Hydra Pack or CNOC, if it has a 28 millimeter opening on the top, it will screw right onto that with no adapters and it's ready to go.
Right, it's a semi-standard sort of top that we're starting to see throughout the industry
Yeah.
and used in many places. So this is, great for the outdoor usage, right? And you kind of use this very similar technology in things like squeeze bottles, right? Which is my preferred vessel when I'm out there, right? Because it can
Yeah.
squeeze up really small, go to nothing. I can fill it up and quickly drink water.
Yeah.
But that's not the only way we drink water, right? Like that's in the outdoors.
Hmm.
But on the right here, you see a cup. And that is often a way that we drink water as well. Maybe not in the outdoors, but when we're traveling and we're out in places where water, we don't really know where it comes from. So that's why you have this new product. What is this new sip straw and who is it for? I don't think it's for hikers.
Yeah, probably not the primary. You could use it for it. I definitely drank out of river water with it. It's safe to do, but this is a more elegant solution. And y'all, forgive me. I believe mine must have fallen out in my car. I don't have it in my room with me right
Yep.
now, but
I've got one right
here.
here.
You got one, Marshall. Thanks. You'll have
Yeah.
to be my prop guy. I have everything else, but I can't find that one. So, that's the solo or the sip. So you take the classic straw, and we made a more elegant version of it. It's stainless steel. Inside is potted membrane filter, same thing, but a very new formulation. As crazy as this sounded to me the first time I heard it, it took us 7 years to develop the filter membrane for this product. It wasn't a matter of just shrinking it down and shoving it into a smaller vessel. We actually had to come up with a new formulation and a new construction to get the flow rate good, to keep the durability and get to the lifespan that we wanted. So a lot goes into the technology that we put forward. I mean, this idea of I just heard this on a podcast. This idea of like to predict the future, you have to invent it. And we wanted to invent a new type of filtration here, one that you could take every day. So to your point, Marshall, is like, who's this ideal customer? It's somebody who's just worried about things that are in their water or wants protection, whether that's at home, on the move, on traveling abroad. Um, what this will do is it will do the same, it has the same capabilities of our other ones in regards to the removal of pathogens. But one benefit of membrane microfiltration is it also removes microplastics out of water. So if you're somebody who's traveling a lot and you've been to the airport and you get a glass of water and it's got floaties in it, you don't know how good it is, you don't know if that ice is slimy, you can use this. It'll make that water safer to drink. It'll have less turbidity in it, and then the microplastics that are not filtered out by municipal filtration and municipal purification will also be removed through this. So when you're thinking about somebody who is this ideal for, it's going to show up in your stores as a maybe a new kind of customer who's not buying a water filter traditionally, but they understand this idea of like this will make me feel safer and will keep me healthier when I'm traveling or moving around.
Yeah, it's a great concept, right? It's pretty compact. It's got a nice carrying case in it, which you can use to keep the straw hydrated, so it's ready to go with every sip. And if you're just at a place you're like, I don't know, right? And that has certainly happened to me traveling quite a bit, right? Either I don't know where the water came from, or okay, I got a bottle of Coke, but I'm pouring it in to some ice that I don't know where the ice came from, right? I can use this now even for something like a Coke
Yeah.
to be able to filter out the parasite, or not the parasites, but the yeah, parasites that could potentially be in the water.
Yeah, it's people travel and you're never quite sure. And to your point, maybe I can tell you I haven't drank a Coke out of it, and it wouldn't,
It's a little
but
sugary, isn't it? Yeah.
I have drank a margarita through it, so it does work for that too.
Yeah.
You don't quite know where that ice is coming from. It wouldn't be the thing I would go to all the time for it. You might
Right.
impact some of the lifespan, but
Yeah.
it will work for those situations for sure. So
It's
it's
a
a
good
great thing
advantage.
to have in your arsenal when you're traveling.
Yeah, and so it's this now is kind of out there. We can sell this to customers who we know are traveling, and I think it's a cool little add-on to be able to hook people up with. And I like that that you put the silicone tip on one side, so we know which side to
Yeah,
drink out of, because otherwise you're like, uh-oh, what's the right side? And so that's a cool little detail that y'all packaged into this.
yeah.
We're getting some cool questions, and I want to answer some of these. What's the maintenance for somebody who uses their filter, whether that be the sip straw or whether that be some of the other filtration product? Only uses it every once in a while. So
Yeah.
how does one maintain some of these filtration products that we've talked about here tonight?
Yeah, those are good questions and they're super important because we want to build something that lasts, right? We don't want to build something that's just disposable. We have a lifespan that's calculated on about when it drops to 40% of original flow. But the idea of taking care of it and making it last is really important to us. So for long-term storage and care, first and foremost, I would just head to lifestraw.com and look for resources. And the reason why is there are steps you want to take. I think somebody had posted, should I let it dry out? And actually, no, you don't want it to fully dry out because um, there are some physics going on with the membrane. And in the
The
case
capillary effect that you want to promote, right?
that's
Yeah.
correct. You want to have the capillary effect help draw water through. Sometimes when they dry out, the pores will close up. So what we recommend is to actually you're going to store it in a saline solution. In the case of my Go bottle, if I wasn't going to use it for a long period of time, maybe more than like a month or two, what I would do is fill it with water, put a teaspoon of salt in there, dilute it, and then put my top on it and store it like that. The reason why is the water will keep it hydrated and the saline will kill anything nasty that might grow while it's sitting unused. For some of our other products, it's a very similar process. It's very simple. It sounds intimidating, but there's some good videos and directions on our website. In the field, when you're using it, what I would say is if you're familiar with backwashing on a filter, our Peak series products come with a screw-on syringe. And this is something you want to do pretty regularly is whenever it's clogged up and it's not filtering as well as you want it to, what you're going to do is just pull some water up through the syringe. You can see it collecting there. And then you're going to do a few batches of that. And that will help clear out anything that's caught up in there and help prolong the lifespan of it. So backwashing is going to be a big benefit to your flow rate and your care whenever you're using it. So doing that is great. And I want to say the last thing is, and these filters last a long time. And in particular, I'll talk about this one for the bottles. This is 1,000 gallons of capacity. Like you can use this for years of your
Yeah.
everyday water bottle, and you'll get the protections every day from microplastics or anything else in the water, and you're going to keep it working really well.
Yeah, so keeping it hydrated when you can, when you are going to store it, putting some salt. I guess you could put a little chlorine in there as well if you wanted to, but salt's maybe a little
This is
healthier.
true. Yes.
So those are both things that will prevent some of the slippery buildup that you can get inside of a bottle. And then backwashing on occasion, even in the Go bottle, right? You can blow back using your mouth to kind of backwash some of that out if that's a thing you want to do. I didn't bring that little backwash tool into the field with me, and now that is part of my
Mm.
first aid kit. It lives in there as part of my maintenance kit,
Yeah.
and so I'll have it with me in the field so I can, if it does start to get a little hard to get water out of there, just a quick backwash and that'll fix a lot.
I do want to answer the question. Debbie asked a question about it. Sometimes when she removes the top,
Yeah.
water bubble out the top.
Yep.
So this can be really affected by pressure.
Yes.
Pressure is either by your elevation or the heat differential.
Any bottle that has a straw that goes into it, this is going to happen, right? The
This is
Stanley
going to
tumblers,
happen.
anything with a straw, this will happen. Yeah.
So what you want to do is if you're on an airplane or you're going up into the mountains, so let's say you go from Denver to Steamboat. When you get up the steamboat or you're driving through the mountains, what you're going to do is just open the bottle like that much close it back up, and then you're able to drink out of
Right,
it. It won't,
depressurize it.
you're equalizing the pressure between the inside and the outside of the bottle. If you're having that more often, like there could be something, it doesn't come up very often, but occasionally it comes up where the threading's not matching up or the umbrella valve is not working as expected. Please reach out to our customer service desk at info@lifestraw.com, and I'd recommend that to your customers too. Our customer service team will take care of you because all of our products have a 3-year warranty on manufacturer's defects. So if there's an issue, we'll take care of it.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being part of the Experience More tour, and we'll see you back here soon for our next set of programming next week. So thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Take
Thank you,
care.
everybody. Have a great
Yeah.
day.